All right, good morning. Somebody told me if I hold it like this, it won't seem like I'm reading. But my name is Chris Gerards. Yeah, there I am. And I'm a board-certified master arborist. I work for the City of Savannah. I came to Savannah a little over 2 years ago out of my mind from a divorce in progress. There I am, temporarily insane. I took this job as senior tree maintenance worker with the Park and Tree Department. It pays about the same as when I was in high school, but my palate is world class. How about the trees in this town? How about the trees in this town? It's an arborist wet dream. And it's the good type of wet dream, not the one where you wake up sweaty and spend the rest of the day recalibrating your identity. As far as I can calculate to date, I have pruned approximately 2,500 of Savannah's trees. So we started in Forsyth Park, and we did that sort of corona around the fountain. Then we went to Chippewa Square, and we did sort of the do-over there. We were a little overzealous, in my opinion, but there's kind of a learning curve on how we did these squares. Next one was Wright Square. This turned out really well. And we started experimenting with some viewing corridors with the monument. And then here's Telfair Square, and here we raised the trees a little bit just to get that north-south view. And here's Reynolds Square. You see Mr. Wesley there, nicely framed with that limb. And this is the last one we just did, Madison Square. Turned out beautiful. I mean, brilliant. Looked really good. All right. In case you're unfamiliar with my profession, let me explain. We go by several names. Tree guys, arborists, tree surgeons, you know the type, very handsome, cultured, refined. We use nothing but the most advanced equipment. And on the evolutionary scale of trades, we are right there between roofers and painters. All right, let me address right up front why the trees in Savannah are important to me, important to my well-being, my happiness. As an arborist, I know the benefits of the urban forest from all the facts I've learned: temperature mitigation, erosion control, carbon sequestering, and oxygen. Important stuff, but abstract. I've never seen oxygen. No, what really affects me about the trees is their presence, how beautiful they are in the city, and how profoundly they impact my life. So let's try and decode this idea of beauty and how it relates to trees. It's an ambiguous subject. All I can do is share with you some of the recurring patterns that I have noticed that make for an aesthetically pleasing circumstance. So Nietzsche had a good line in Twilight of the Idols. He said that beauty is no accident. What I think he meant is that our prodigy is the culmination of our preferred aesthetic, right? It's not so much our looks he was talking about, more our culture, how every generation strives to be just a little bit more refined than the last one. And the reason for this striving is varied, but it's essential to our ambition. When I asked a friend of mine, she said we could hardly have an opinion about beauty without it being inherently biased. And I think this supports Nietzsche's argument that we constantly strive to enhance our idea of beauty within a framework that assigns disdain for those who we consider to be less beautiful and the envy we feel towards those who we think are more beautiful. This is what I call the expression of beauty. But let's get back to the trees. Our relationship with trees is a lot less complicated and has lasted a lot longer than some of our other relationships. We have been in the forest since our evolutionary inception, and although a constant presence, trees are both biologically and morphologically far removed from us. Their lineage is much more ancient than ours, so much so we can't really lay claim on them as our own. The notion is absurd. This makes their aesthetic non-biased, and hence we can appreciate them without casting a reflection on ourselves. This allows us to experience their beauty. All right, let's look at the city. Let's consider it an artifice built on nature and an expression of our freedom. Then we should look upon the urban forest as a way to preserve and mediate the connection between these two orders, that which gives us a perspective of balance between human freedom and our natural necessity. So why does the medium between nature and the city work so well in Savannah? I could argue it started with Oglethorpe and subsequent far-sighted city managers, but I'm not much of a historian. All I can tell you is what I've seen with my own eyes and experienced while working for the Park and Tree Department. As I made my way through the city, I learned about the tree program. And all I can say is, wow, you guys are getting a great deal, by the way. With close to 85,000 trees, over 24 inches in diameter, and a budget around $5 million, this place looks great. And you know, it comes out to about $50 per tree per year. And that's not including the smaller trees. So anyway, if we are to maintain our non-prejudicial experience of beauty when it comes to trees, we must consider the type of ownership and care. All right, so private ownership of trees and forests can become an accoutrement to fashion and an expression of our ambition. Trees can delineate property, separating owners from non-owners. Trees held in the public trust, however, reassemble into that primal forest we once shared and depended on. This shared interest and dependence brings cohesion and elevates the urban experience. And as with any city, Savannah is a rich tapestry of many different neighborhoods. As a living entity, its forest grows all around its inhabitants. If Savannah is to maintain the trust of its citizens when it comes to the care of the forest, that care should be given equally throughout the city, and fair dealings should be paramount. When it comes to maintenance, it falls into two categories: where the resources are allocated and the type of care that is given. In this city, tree care and its resources are allocated commensurate to the need and in proportion to the entire forest, using only the industry's best practices. Let's look at the tree aesthetics. It often goes unnoticed but infiltrates our subconscious. Its power is manifested in the self-reflection of our comparative well-being. Hence, a misshapen and neglected forest is damaging in direct proportion to the benefits that a well-maintained canopy provides. To create a pleasing aesthetic, we must maintain some suspension of disbelief that this forest somehow occurred and grew around us naturally, that what we live amongst is not the result of generations of tree surgeons, but a lucky happenstance afforded to the good people of Savannah. With that goal in mind, here are some guidelines for both arborists and city planners that I think make sense when trees interact with architecture. I very pompously call this the Savannah Protocol. The first observation of what works well in Savannah is that buildings should not exceed the height of the tree canopy unless to connote the exception. All right? So let's take a look at these proportions. So I'm panning across the city skyline, and you can see the spire kind of works, but the hotel really doesn't. And here's downtown. There's a smidgen of green there, but it's totally out of proportion. And here it sort of segues back into more familiar sites. Secondly, roadways should not exceed more than half the width of the horizontal tree canopy. All right, here's a photo of Abercorn looking south, right? It's like hot, there's cars everywhere, it's nothing but concrete. All right, now this is a photo of the same spot looking north. Looks a lot better, right? Okay, more pragmatically for the arborist, whenever possible, trees should not have the tips of their branches raised beyond the point of where their permanent branching structure starts. In other words, don't raise the skirt above the crotch, right? So here are some of the trees that we did. So you see how sort of natural it looks? And here's a badass little tree on MLK. Looks perfect. All right, and the last thing, plant trees often and plant the best trees you can afford. Here's a little cherry tree we planted on State Street. This thing is like perfect. It's a perfect branching structure. It's going to be beautiful. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you.